In the last video, you learned that a single cone snail carries venom so powerful it can shut down your entire nervous system in minutes. No antidote, no second chances. But here's the part that should really terrify you. Even with all our modern science, supercomputers, and advanced medicine, we still can't stop cone snail venom once it's in your body. Why is that? When someone gets stung by a venomous animal, doctors usually follow a familiar playbook. They identify the toxin, administer an antivenom, and stabilize the patient. This works for snakes. It works for spiders. It even works for most jellyfish stings. But cone snails, they completely break the system. Once that venom hits your bloodstream, medicine isn't fighting the toxin, it's racing against it. And most of the time, it loses. The reason there's still no antivenom comes down to one brutal reality. Cone snail venom isn't just one weapon, it's an entire arsenal. Each snail produces a unique venom cocktail made of dozens, sometimes hundreds, of tiny proteins called conotoxins. And each one of these conotoxins targets a different part of your nervous system with surgical precision. Others block calcium channels, which control muscle movement. Some stop your muscles from contracting altogether, and some of the most horrifying ones paralyze your breathing without affecting your consciousness at all. That means a victim can be fully awake, fully aware, while their lungs are shutting down. Now, imagine trying to design an antidote for that. It's not like neutralizing a single snake toxin. You'd have to counteract multiple, simultaneous molecular attacks, each one custom designed by millions of years of evolution. And it gets even worse. Cone snails don't even use the same venom every time. Research shows that some species can actually change their venom composition depending on what they're hunting. If they're hunting a fast-moving fish, they use fast-acting toxins. If it's a slower prey, they switch to longer-acting chemical shutdowns. This is biological improvisation at its finest. It means the venom that might be injected into a human may not match anything scientists have ever studied before. That's why antivenom research keeps hitting a dead end. To create an effective antivenom, scientists need three things: a stable toxin, a predictable structure, and a consistent target. Cone snail venom offers none of those. Even if you manage to develop an antivenom for one species of cone snail, it would be completely useless against the next one. So instead of curing it, doctors are forced into damage control. Patients are put on ventilators to keep them breathing. Their heart rhythms are constantly monitored. Their blood oxygen is artificially maintained. Doctors don't actually remove the venom. They just try to keep the body alive long enough for the toxins to break down naturally. And sometimes that's not long enough. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn from utterly terrifying to almost unbelievable. Because the very same reason that cone snail venom is impossible to cure is exactly why scientists are so obsessed with it. You see, cone snail venom doesn't just attack randomly. It targets specific neural pathways with an accuracy that seems almost artificial. In fact, neuroscientists consider conotoxins to be some of the most precise biological tools ever discovered. One toxin might only affect pain signals. Another might only target muscle control. A third might only influence heart rhythm. And that level of precision is something modern medicine desperately wants to harness. This is how one particular cone snail completely changed pain treatment forever, from the venom of a species called Conus magus. Scientists isolated a single peptide that became ziconotide, one of the strongest non-opioid painkillers ever approved for human use. Unlike opioids, it doesn't cause addiction. It doesn't cause tolerance, meaning patients don't need higher and higher doses. And it doesn't activate the reward centers in the brain that lead to dependency. Instead, it works by blocking a very specific calcium channel that is involved in transmitting pain signals to the brain. The only downside, it's so powerful it has to be injected directly into the spinal cord. Not exactly convenient, but for people with severe chronic pain, it has been revolutionary. And that was just the beginning. Other conotoxins are now being studied for a huge range of conditions. Epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, chronic nerve pain, stroke recovery, and even autoimmune disorders. One class of conotoxins can selectively silence overactive neurons, the kind that cause seizures without affecting the healthy neurons around them. That's something most pharmaceutical drugs really struggle to do. Even more shocking, remember the venom cloud used by those net-feeding cone snails? Scientists discovered it contains a hyperefficient form of insulin. This insulin acts much faster than human insulin and shuts down the blood sugar in fish almost instantly. Now, researchers are investigating whether synthetic versions of this snail insulin could help treat type 1 diabetes with fewer side effects and better glucose control. Think about that for a second. A snail evolved a specialized venom to kill fish faster, and in doing so, accidentally gave humans the blueprints for some of the most advanced medicines of the future. But this raises a really fascinating and slightly disturbing question. If cone snail venom is so incredibly powerful, why doesn't the snail die from its own poison? The answer lies in a microscopic evolutionary miracle. Cone snails have mutated versions of the same sodium and calcium channels that their venom attacks. The toxins simply can't bind to their own nervous system. They carry around enough venom to kill dozens of humans, and they are completely immune to it. This level of biological adaptation is so precise that neuroscientists actually use cone snails as models to understand how these ion channels evolved in the first place. It's literally nature hacking itself. And yet, despite all of this incredible knowledge, cone snails remain exceptionally dangerous. Most things happen when people are walking on the beach and pick up a beautiful shell, completely unaware that the animal inside is still alive and very well armed. There's often no pain at first, just a strange tingling sensation, then numbness, a false sense of safety. But then the muscles stop responding. Speech begins to slur. Breathing becomes difficult. By the time emergency care even begins, the venom has already done its work, spreading through the nervous system. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Cone snails are not aggressive. They don't chase humans. They don't hunt us. But evolution didn't design their venom with mercy in mind. It designed it for perfection. A weapon so precise that modern medicine still can't undo it, and yet so sophisticated that it might one day cure the diseases we can't. The cone snail isn't just one of the deadliest animals alive. It's living proof that nature is always several steps ahead of us. And it shows us that sometimes the line between a deadly killer and a life-saving cure is only a few molecules wide. Thanks for watching. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the wonders of the natural world. See you next time. Imagine you're wading through shallow ocean water. You spot a small, beautiful shell resting on the sand. You reach down to pick it up. It looks completely harmless. But within minutes, your muscles stop working, your lungs shut down, and your heart follows. This isn't a disease. This isn't an infection. This is one of the most precise killing tools ever evolved in nature. And it belongs to a snail. The ocean floor can look so calm, so lifeless, as waves gently roll above the sand. You're walking through the shallows when something catches your eye, small, beautifully patterned shell resting quietly just below your feet. It looks decorative, almost like a collector's item. What you don't know is that this shell can and will kill you, and this isn't some slow poison that causes illness over days or weeks. If you're stung badly, it all happens within minutes. Your muscles shut down. Your breathing fails. Your heart follows shortly after. This animal is the cone snail, and it's one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. Just one drop of its venom contains enough toxin to kill over 20 fully grown humans. Around 0.029 milligrams is enough to stop a human heart. To put that into perspective, that tiny amount is smaller than a single grain of table salt. Even the world's most venomous snake, the inland taipan, has an antivenom. But for the cone snail, there is no antidote. If you're stung, there's only time, and the clock starts ticking immediately. So, why did evolution create a snail with venom this lethal? Why does no cure exist? And how could this exact same venom one day save millions of lives? A cone snail can strike its prey in 200 to 500 milliseconds. That's faster than you can blink. In one moment, a fish is swimming peacefully. In the next, it twitches, freezes, and is swallowed whole. At first glance, cone snails don't look threatening. They're slow, about 6 inches long, and hide inside these elegant spiral shells. You might see one half buried in the sand and think it's just another harmless snail. That assumption is deadly. Unlike most snails, cone snails aren't herbivores. They're carnivorous ambush predators, silent assassins. Their shell acts like a miniature armored bunker, allowing them to bury themselves almost completely and remain unseen. They move using a flat, muscular foot, gliding slowly across the ocean floor. Not fast, but just stealthy enough to avoid detection. Their eyes are nearly useless. They can sense light, but not shape or movement. Instead, cone snails rely on something called a siphoner tube that works like a chemical sensor. By tasting the water, they can detect trace chemicals released by nearby fish. Once prey is detected, the snail prepares its weapon. Hidden inside its body is a modified tooth-hollow, barbed harpoon loaded with venom. This harpoon sits on a spring-like structure called a proboscis. When fired, it launches forward at incredible speed, piercing fish scales just like a hypodermic needle. The venom enters instantly. The fish don't fight back. They don't escape. Their nervous systems simply shut down. Some cone snails take this a step further. Net-feeding species like the infamous Conus geographus release a chemical cloud into the water a mixture scientists call the Nirvana cabal. It doesn't kill instantly. Instead, it sedates any nearby fish, making them confused and sluggish. Then the snail simply vacuums them in. Only after the prey is close does the snail fire its harpoon to finish the job. Out of more than 800 known species of cone snails, every single one produces venom. But only about 10 to 20 species are actually dangerous to humans. Those are the fish hunters. The most infamous is Conus geographus, also known as the geography cone or the cigarette snail. The legend says that if it stings you, you'll have just enough time to smoke one cigarette before you die. Sadly, that's not far from the truth. Cone snail venom isn't just one toxin, it's a custom-engineered cocktail of hundreds of small proteins called COT. Each one targets a specific part of the nervous system: sodium channels, calcium channels, muscle receptors, breathing reflexes. Some stop muscles from moving, others shut down breathing. Some freeze the heart. And here's the terrifying part. Each species has a different venom formula. Across all cone snails, scientists estimate there could be over 100,000 unique venom compounds. That's why no antivenom exists. You can't create one single cure for thousands of different molecular combinations. If someone is stung, doctors can only provide supportive care, ventilators, heart monitoring, pain management, hope the venom breaks down before the body completely fails. So far, there have been about 36 confirmed human deaths linked to cone snails, and those are just the ones we've documented. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. The same venom designed to shut down life might be one of the greatest medical discoveries in history. Researchers studying the venom of one cone snail, Conus magus, discovered a compound that became zactinotide. This is one of the most powerful non-addictive painkillers ever developed. And that's just the beginning. Other venom peptides are now being studied for treating epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, chronic pain, cardiac disorders, and even autoimmune conditions. Even more incredible, the venom cloud released by those net-feeding snails contains a unique form of insulin. This insulin works faster and more efficiently than human insulin, and it's now being researched as a potential breakthrough treatment for type 1 diabetes. Nature didn't design cone snails to save us. It designed them to kill fish. But in the process, evolution accidentally created one of the most precise biochemical tools ever discovered, and now humanity is trying to learn from it. So yes, the cone snail is the deadliest snail on Earth, but one day it may also be the snail that saves millions of lives.